Good afternoon, Gareth. Thanks for taking some time out and getting involved in our spotlight interview this week. Go ahead, introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, my name's Gareth McCay. I am Managing Director of McCay Solicitors. We have an office here in Errington Square in Derry, Londonderry, and we have an office in Strabane as well in County Tyrone. We're in business now about 8 years. We started out as a niche employment law practice, but since then we've grown now into kind of a number of other complementary areas. And I suppose our unique selling point in the Northwest is that we deal with a lot more commercial law, business law, which hasn't really usually been available in these parts. So yeah, that's us. And
who would you most like to do business with? Like, who would be an ideal client for you now that you have that USP?
I suppose the great thing for us is we're based in Errington Square, which is where I suppose here in Derry is where they're building the new commercial hub, I suppose, for the city. And we have a lot of companies coming in from London and the US, and we act for quite a few of those. So recently, that's supposed to be our ideal customer, but we act for a lot of the large employers around there, large companies, but we take everything from, we still act for your man in the street buying and selling a property as well, but certainly from my own perspective, some of the businesses moving in here to Errington have been great clients and a great kind of a great way for us to get businesses when they first come into there, and then obviously retain them. And
sure,
we're lucky enough that they pass our details on the other businesses as well that come to open up.
And how did you end up getting into business for yourself in the first place then?
I'm probably a unique one on this, to be honest, Scott.
Okay.
So I worked, I trained as a solicitor in England, and my wife's from Derry, and they always say girls from Derry always want to come home. So under a bit of pressure, and eventually I came back to work for one of the large commercial firms in Belfast, and I was there a couple of years, and I actually suffered a spinal injury.
Okay.
So I had a fall, and ended up with a spinal injury at C3, C4, which means basically paralyzed in the chest down. And at that point, it was very difficult for me to travel from Derry to Belfast every day to go to work. And I just decided that it didn't have longevity. It was, I think I was 27 at the time, and it was fine traveling up and down every day, and adding 4 hours to a work day. But I think when you're kind of coming over a catastrophic injury like that, I spent 11.5 months in Musgrave Park Hospital. So come off the back of that, I just think I needed a change in life. I didn't want to spend 20 hours on the road every week, and I just decided, well, I'm going to do something for myself, because it meant I could work at my own pace. And I suppose the extent as well, it meant that I wasn't going to do another business with the pressure of having to try and succeed and all the rest. I was able to take it at my own pace. And I opened up a laptop, and my sister-in-law kindly agreed to do a bit of typing for me. And 8 years down the line now, we're across 2 offices with 10 people. So it's gone well. But yeah, it wasn't it wasn't a choice to probably go into business. It was something that happened by a very strange set of circumstances.
Well, at the very start of your story, and you said I'm not that unique, I was going, I've heard this story before, and had the girl made a move home, and in that boat myself. But I would say actually you probably did have a choice, and you chose to set the business up and make it serve you and what you needed. And like you say, 8 years later now, you've employed a number of other people and across 2 offices. So I mean, I can't, not that you need it, but I can't applaud you enough for that. I think that's an awesome story of making a business fit your life, what you want out of life.
That was it. At the time, I had my daughter was 2 years old, and I suppose in many respects I kind of did it because I had to try and provide for her moment. And the only thing that I kind of knew was law. And I suppose in terms of me having the accident, one of the lucky things was that it didn't affect my ability to work didn't affect my cognitive ability, my brains.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And with all the kind of technology and stuff now as well, I was able to function. I was quite lucky in that extent, because some people have spinal injuries and could be bricklayers or joiners, and that's pretty much the career finished. So I was quite lucky, and as I said, I had to try and provide a future for my daughter. So it was a matter of must do at the beginning rather than perhaps.
Yeah. And how is that journey evolved then? So you start out with a laptop and it's really just, I need to pay the bills here.
Yeah.
To, it sounds like you've got something much, much bigger than that. So how did that, did it just grow organically, or did you sort of think, hang on, there is something here and let's see what we can make of it? How did that work?
I think I was very lucky. I mean, I trained with JMW in Manchester, who is kind of a huge firm now. They were in a growth stage at that point. I think I got the very kind of best training you could get. And I went to a firm in Belfast, and it was very similar. And I think I just brought what I'd learned and the ethos in those big, huge firms and brought them down here to a very much smaller level, but just applied the same ethos, the same approach to customers, to clients, the can-do attitude, and I suppose prepared to take on a lot of work that wouldn't necessarily have normally been done in the Northwest. Having that kind of confidence to do it because I've either done it myself or I've worked with people who have done it, and then growing it really from there, and then looking at what we can add and what people have been of it. Everyone says that people are the biggest asset and the most important part, and it was then just adding the right people with the right skills, and sometimes they meet demand and other times they kind of make demand. They bring someone and say, right, we can now do this, bring that work here. So a wee bit of mixture of both, really, is how we've grown it.
And did you have that mindset from the start, or were you worried about employing your first employee? Or
it was definitely a challenge because I suppose initially, even when you're putting the feelers out, I was still 29, and you got people perhaps a lot longer in the tooth than you coming in for interviews. So it was definitely strange, and it was something that I had no experience of doing before. But no, it's something I embraced because it was. I always kind of knew that I never, even though I opened up my own, I never planned to stay as a one-man band. I always wanted to grow it, and I always had an idea. Even when I worked in Belfast, I always looked at it and thought, well, the Northwest is a wee bit, ignored in terms of what they serve. That no one's really looking there. I think I always thought there was a good market there, and I always thought it was done right and done differently. That there was good potential. So it was something I had in my mind previously, but never really decided I'm the person who's going to go and sort it out. But then when I came to it, I applied things that I'd seen before and thought about before, and said, right, well, now I am the person to go and do this because I've got to do something, and I've always thought that this was the best. This is a good idea. So
it's interesting though that you said there at the start, never planned to stay as a one-man band. So you must have had this sort of vision of maybe it was vague, but of somewhere you were going to take it to.
Yes, I think it's very difficult if you're working as a one-man band. I suppose one thing I always potentially consider as well is, was I always going to be physically able to do this every day of the week for the next 10, 20 years? And I think it would always be good it's always good to have a team around you, so you can with people that can support you and compliment you and maybe do the bits that you can't do and all the rest. So I think it was important. As it turned out, people I think would look at someone in a wheelchair and say, geez, I don't want to employ them because they might be giving me full service. I think I've had 2 sick days in about 8 years. and I think I'll work both of them from home. So it was never a concern. But yeah, I think that was one thing. But I think I did from the outset. I thought, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. And I always had a belief that the market was there. So I always thought, yeah, we can definitely do it bigger. And we've from probably 2 or 3 years, and then we looked at what we could acquire. So could we acquire other practices, or could we acquire people who were retiring? Could we acquire what's left of those practices in terms of wills and probate and property, and we've done that a couple of times along the way. So certainly, when I done very small at the start, but I always had the intention that we're going to go for this and try and grow it.
Fantastic. And if you were to start the business again, is there anything you would have done differently?
I think probably maybe I wouldn't have been as cautious as I was for the first 3 years. Now that I suppose when I learned in business, how do you access finance and what potential finance is there, and also look at other opportunities. I think I probably maybe not sat still, but I didn't maybe look into those type of things that I should have done a lot earlier. I grew the business organic for probably 5 or 6, maybe 4 or 5 years, and maybe didn't look beyond what all the help and stuff that was out there. And it's only really recently that we managed to do that.
And it sounds like the business is in a really good shape. It's quite an exciting time for the business. A couple of offices, and you're in a growth phase. Did you say?
Certainly are. We're in a growth phase. Year on year, we've improved. You almost feel bad to say it, but COVID was maybe quite good for our business. We started as a niche employment law firm. So when COVID hit, everyone needed an employment lawyer, and our client list grew. We had other firms who came to us and said, can you service our clients? Because we don't do employment law, but we're getting all these inquiries, and we're getting overwhelmed with them, or we don't have staff even at work to deal with them. So we dealt with those, and we retained some of that work. So we've grown on from there, and we're now at a stage where we're in discussions potentially double in size within the next 3 months, through acquisition as well. But say that touching wood, because these things are never done until they're done. But that's what we're looking at. We're looking at moving forward, and I just think that's just always the way I've been. I think in life and business I've been the same. I've never really looked over my shoulder. Kind of look forward and look at what are we going to do tomorrow? What's next?
It sounds amazing. So I would normally, I was going to ask what does the next few years look like? But you're about to double in 3 months, so I'm nearly scared to ask what could the next 5 years look like, and what do you see as the main challenges moving forward in that sort of time frame?
Our main challenge, it's not as a business, it's as a region. It's regional imbalance. Okay. The Northwest is just hamstrung. It's ticking. It's about to go off. I think the Northwest has huge potential, but we're just being hamstrung by lack of investment from Invest NI, infrastructure, or A6, not kicking off, probably our train infrastructure, all that type of thing. And the biggest problem that creates, I think, is probably labor. People getting the right staff at the right level with the right skills. And as I said before, COVID was good for business, but to a large extent, there's a negative aspect, which was accessing people, because one of our great things we used to have was that we could attract people from Dublin, London, and Belfast to come back to Derry, because we would say, well, yeah, you do corporate law or you do commercial law in Belfast. We do it here. You can come back, work in Derry and do that work, because previously, Derry is kind of all criminal law or family law, whatever. And the difficulty now is that selling point's gone, because people can now come and live and work in Derry, but work for firms in London, Dublin, Belfast, and they pay obviously a hell of a lot more wages than we can pay it. So in that sense, that's the one thing that's got really difficult for us, and it will be the most difficult thing moving forward, is getting the right people and getting, and as much as we'd all love to pay high wages, there's obviously a cap at what you can pay in terms of what you're charging out and stuff, and we're not able to charge Belfast rates here, although I do think that the work we do is of equal value to what you'll get in Belfast, but there's still a bit of an imbalance. And you know, the Northwest here and this site at Edmonton, if you've never been down here to this site, you should come and have a look. I mean, it's just so much potential here, and there's really some really good things going on. Some really good businesses have set up coming into the city, but it is absolutely ripe, and I think it's a great thing to be on the site here and moving forward. And
it sounds like you're maybe as you said, it's just about to go, and you're getting that investment now. So listen, I mean, it's a common problem, but from chatting to you there for the last few minutes, I can tell by the attitude you have towards everything, you'll overcome it, and your USP in the markets there, I just don't see anything but success for you. And I really appreciate you being so open and honest with us, and coming on and sharing your journey so far. Thank you, Gareth.
No problem, Scott. Thanks for having me.